The port of New Geneva smelled like ozone and recycled air, a peculiar combination that marked every human colony on the outer rim. Cargo freighters descended and ascended in rhythmic patterns, their ion engines painting temporary auroras across the artificial sky of the dome. Among the bustling crowds of traders, miners, and colonists, a figure sat motionless against a rusted storage container. That she was. Drake theory what humans called a dragon woman, though that translation barely captured the majesty her species once held. Her scales, which should have shimmered like molten copper, were dulled by malnutrition and despair. Tattered wings folded against her back, one of them torn and never properly healed. The Drake theory had been apex predators on their world, revered as living gods by lesser species. Now, she was just another refugee, displaced when the confluence had glassed her homeworld 3 cycles ago. Her name was Vex. Though no one had asked it in months, she watched the humans pass with eyes that held ancient sadness. These strange, soft creatures, with their fragile bodies and impossibly short lifespans, had somehow carved out an empire among the stars. They shouldn't have survived first contact with the galactic community. They certainly shouldn't have thrived. Yet here they were, building cities on dead rocks and treating the cosmos like it owed them nothing. Excuse me. The voice was small, crystalline. Vexorous inner eyelids flickered as she focused on the source. A human child stood before her, no more than 7 solar rotations old. The girl had pale skin dusted with freckles and hair the color of Terra's autumn leaves, a deep, rich scarlet that seemed to catch every photon of light. Her clothes were clean but worn, and she clutched a stuffed animal that looked like some earth creature Vexora couldn't identify. Yes, small one. Vexora's voice rumbled, her translator chip struggling with disuse. The girl's skeleton, her name was Scarlet. Her name was Scarlet, tilted, her head with the fearless curiosity only children possessed. Are you hungry? You look hungry. Vexora's pride, that last vestige of what she'd once been, flared briefly. I manage, that means yes. Scarlet dug into a small pack and produced a ration bar. Here, I have extra. The dragon woman stared at the offering. In her culture, to accept food was to acknowledge debt, to place oneself beneath another. But her stomach, traitorous thing, growled audibly. She took the bar with claws that could have shredded plasteel, handling it as gently as morning mist. Your parents permit you to speak with strangers? Vexora asked, though she'd already scanned the area. No adults watched this child. Concerning Donha parents, well, had a mum. Scarlet sat down beside her without invitation, swinging her legs. She died last month. Station plague. They said her immune system couldn't handle the new variant. Vexora felt something crack in her chest, not her ribs, though those were hollow like all Drake theory, but something deeper. I am Sai. Where do you reside now? Orphanage on level 7. It's okay, Miss Chen is nice. Scarlet's voice carried false brightness that any adult could have seen through. Where do you live? Here, there, nowhere. They sat in silence for a moment, watching a massive cargo hauler settle onto its landing pad with a groan of metal and hydraulics. You have no home, Scarlet said suddenly, and I have no mom. The simple truth of it hung between them like a shared wound. Vexora had lost everything: her world, her clan, her status, her purpose. This human child had lost the one thing her species valued above all else: family. In that moment, the dragon woman saw something she'd missed in all her months of despair. Humans shouldn't have survived. They were weak, fragile. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no evolutionary advantages. But they had this, the ability to stand in the ashes and look at another broken thing and say, you too. The confluence destroyed my world, Vexora heard herself saying. 17 billion souls. We were a proud species, warriors and philosophers. We thought ourselves untouchable. Her claws scraped against the metal ground. I escaped on a refugee transport. I am the only Drake theory in this sector. Perhaps in the universe. Scarlet processed this with the strange wisdom children sometimes possessed. That's really sad. But you're not alone now. You're here. That's something, is it? My mum used to say that being alive is always something. It's the start of everything else. Scarlet stood up, brushing dust from her pants. I have to go back before dinner check-in, but I come to the port every day after lessons. If you want, I could bring more food tomorrow, and maybe you could tell me about your world. We're learning about alien cultures in school. Vexora felt her chest tighten. Why would you do this, small Scarlet? The girl smiled, and it was like watching a star ignite. Because you have no home, and I have no mum. And Ms. Chen says the best way to fix broken things is to put them next to other broken things until they make something new. She walked away, her red hair bouncing with each step, leaving Vexara alone with half a ration bar and a feeling she hadn't experienced in months, something that might have been hope. The dragon woman looked down at the food in her claws, then at the retreating figure of the child. Humans were impossible creatures. They lost everything and somehow found ways to give. They were weak and somehow strong. They died young and somehow left marks that lasted. Perhaps, Vexara thought, there was a reason they'd survived first contact after all. Tomorrow, she decided, she would be here when Scarlet returned. And maybe, just maybe, she would start speaking of her homeworld in present tense again, not as something dead, but as something that lived in memory and story, because even broken things, when placed together, could create something worth surviving for.